that you guys have asked me about on several occasions, and it's basically for visiting somebody who has dementia. Maybe that person doesn't live with you, maybe they do. And it's basically, how do I get a conversation going with them? So this is one you've asked me for on a couple of occasions. Now, I'm going to tell you right from the get-go, a lot of this information comes from Teepa Snow. You guys know that's my favorite person when it comes to being in your particular shoes. She is really good at what I call at the grassroots level. She's got her feet on the ground, and she's the one that's actually giving you practical hands-on advice. So if you have questions and stuff, ask me, but I'm probably going to steer you right back into some of her stuff. And she's got videos, so it's nice to see that. So conversations, why does it feel so hard? Why does it feel so hard when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody who has dementia?
You don't know how much they're understanding.
Correct. I don't know how much they're understanding. I don't know if they're getting any of this. I'm not quite sure where they are in the moment. They repeat the same thing over and over again. I get they get upset when I talk. Does anybody have that happen where their person gets upset at them? Visits feel awkward and weird or strange. That was my brothers. My brothers weren't quite sure how to go about handling this, so they just kind of stopped coming around. So struggles are normal. Dementia changes how the brain processes language. That part's going to change, but the need to have a human connection, that's never going to change. So this person's still a human being in there. And I've given this example before, and whenever I do new hire orientation here, I explain it like this. Your person has been basically dropped into a foreign country, if you will. They still have basic human needs. They're still trying to explain those to you. They're still trying to communicate with you. They're doing the best they can with what they think is words. You don't understand the words. That's expressive aphasia. And then they don't understand sometimes what you're saying, and that's receptive aphasia. So that break right there is what causes all of this breakdown in communication. Now, some of you have fully functioning, healthy relationships, and you can have a breakdown in communication, right? So it's no different for the person with dementia. So what you need to do is understand that you might not get the words right, but I need you to make the connection with them. That's the most important thing when it comes to this disease. Don't get caught up on the words, make the connection. Key idea, here we go, Teepa Snow. Dementia changes the brain, but not the need, all right? So the whole idea here is that behavior, any form of behavior is a communication. So I am a child of psychology. I absolutely love this. I have a background in neuropsychology, but one of the favorite things I ever taught was forensics psychology. And what we do in forensics is we look at people's behavior and we try to figure out what were they thinking. So, and I actually taught a course, and I actually did a whole thing on people who go to Walmart. Now, there's something that happens when you walk into a Walmart. Have you ever noticed that? It's like suddenly people start acting a certain way. You're like, why are we doing this? So, and I have people compare Walmart to Target and the two different behaviors, but it's communication. It's rather interesting. The exact same person goes into one place and they're acting differently than if they go into another place. But let's talk about behavior, because behavior is not a bad thing. And I don't want you to sit there and say, oh, well, they're having behaviors. Well, what are we going to do? Okay, behaviors mean that they're doing their best to express to you an unmet need. Now, if I kept all of you in this room and kept giving you water and something to drink and kept you locked in here for 3 to 4 hours, what's going to be a basic human need that's going to happen? All right, we're going to go to the bathroom. So walk me through what your behavior might start to look like sitting in that seat. Going to get antsy. Yep, we're going to do that little shifting around dance. Then what might start to happen? You're going to stop listening to me, right? You're going to start looking for what? A way out. So you might get up and start walking around, right? And then what might you start doing? Looking for a bathroom, looking for a sign that says bathroom. But what if we actually shifted things around in here and there was no signage that said bathroom? Now what are you going to start doing? You're going to open doors? So let me get this straight. You become agitated, you've started wandering, and now you're going into people's rooms? Yeah, you just did. That's what you think you are. The person with dementia thinks they're where? So they're opening doors. They're their doors to open, right? And what are they looking for? A bathroom. Now something has changed with your vision. You can't quite see white on white, so you can't quite see a toilet. And you know that this looks and sounds and feels like a bathroom, so there should be a toilet here, but you've lost your peripheral vision, your depth perception, the rods and the cones in your eyes have changed, and you can't quite make out if that's a toilet or not. But there is this dark, circular object sitting there. What are you about to do? Because nobody is going to wet themselves, and no fully functioned adult human being is going to say, I need your help, I can't find a toilet. Because I've never met a person with dementia who tells me they have dementia. Yeah, right. Correct? So you're about to urinate in a trash can, or that could be a laundry hamper. Now we have a behavior on you. You got antsy, you got irritated, you got agitated. Maybe I tried to bring you back into this room and I gave you something to drink and a cookie. Is that going to help your need? Now you're going to be irritated with me. So there's how many behaviors? Are y'all counting? So at this point, what's the nurse going to do with you? She's going to say you have a behavior. And we might start to test you for a UTI because you're acting weird. You're not acting weird at all. What are you doing? You're searching for a bathroom. You're a basic human need trying to get met by yourself. That's all it is. So you have to understand that all behavior is some form of communication. They're not necessarily trying to get angry with you, but you would lose your patience with me if I kept bringing you back in here and sitting you in that seat, would you not? Especially if in your best version of English in your head, you're telling me, Lori, I need a bathroom. I'm like, oh, that's great. Come on in here. And you think, I've got her. She's going to come. She's going to help me. And I sit you back in here. You're going to get upset because my form of communication isn't connecting with yours. So those behaviors, don't read too much into them. Take a look at this. Emotions remain. All dementia has a tendency to start in the left-hand side of the brain. Almost all chemical-based dementias do. And we have a tendency then to move from the left side of the brain over into the right side of the brain. And the right side of the brain is where our emotions are stored. So become very emotional people with dementia. We can have a quick anger. We can be quick to cry. We can be quick to laugh about things that don't make sense as to why we're laughing. So we have all the emotions, but we lose our logic. Logic is in the front. Logic is our safety awareness. Logic is knowing what thing we're supposed to do in which order. But we definitely maintain our emotions. And emotions get really heightened. So basically at this point, you need to focus on how someone feels instead of what they remember. So you don't sit there and quiz them. Don't do that. But we do want to focus on how they're feeling about it. So, positive conversation starters. You want to say things that are going to reduce the pressure, that invite the emotions, not the facts. We don't care about the facts. I don't care if they get the year wrong, the date wrong, me wrong. I don't care about any of that. I just want to make sure that they feel connected, that they feel like they have an emotional attachment, that they're safe. So I'm focusing on the emotions. I'm going to do an open-ended but very, very simple question. I'm going to focus on their present moment. Now, what is their present moment? Depends on them. You're going to have to figure out where they are. Make sense? There are days that I would start a conversation with my dad, and I may have been his daughter when we started the conversation, and by the time it ended, I was his grandmother. Okay, and that's just how we're going to go. You don't want to quiz. Don't quiz somebody. What do I mean by that? Have you guys all met my friend Kelly over here? Kelly is our memory care director here on campus, and Kelly and I work very, very closely together. And one of the things I was asking her about when I was putting this presentation together, she's like, too many families come in and say, what's my name? Who am I? Now I'm going to ask you a question. If the first time I met you, and I'm going to say, hey, Jill, what's my name? Do you remember my name? How are you going to feel if that's how I greet you? Who does that? Who does that when they come up to you and say, do you remember who I am? What's my name? Now, how does that make you feel? I'm going to tell you how it makes them feel. It makes them feel like you know something that they don't, and you're playing a game with them. Do you guys like to play games that you don't know the answers to? Do you like to feel like somebody's gaslighting you and playing along here, and you're like, I don't understand why you come in here and do that to me? They don't need to know the answers to those questions. They're not taking an ACT this weekend. They're not doing anything. They just need to know that they can trust you. The other thing big is do not keep correcting them. How many of you sitting in this room love to be corrected by your spouse? It's your favorite thing, right? Hey guys, did you know that when you married us, you got an automatic built-in co-pilot that tells you everything you're doing is wrong? That's our job, right? How does it make you feel though? It's cute at times in a marriage and a relationship, but if somebody keeps telling you everything you're doing or saying is wrong, no, that's not right, that didn't happen on that date, don't you remember, you said this, I just told you that, how would you like that after a while? You're gonna start to push back. And then what about testing their memory? Saying, do you remember what we did yesterday? Do you remember what you had for lunch today? Do you remember? Okay, listen, I had lunch with you today, right? I don't remember what I did. It's been a long day already. I don't like being quizzed and tested. It makes me feel like you're holding information that I should know. I don't quite remember it, and you're putting me in the hot seat, and I don't like this feeling. How many of you like to be put on the spot with questions? Most adults don't. So don't go in there and start quizzing them. That's not how you figure out where they are. That's not what I mean by meet them in the moment and quiz them with some questions to figure out where they are. That's not what I mean by that. So positive conversation starters, they don't demand accuracy. I want you to participate with me. I want you to talk with me. I want you to feel connection with me. So the very first way you're going to start off with this is no quiz questions. We're not doing that. The biggest myth, if they can't remember, there's no point in talking to them. We hear this more than you know. So just because they can't get the answers right, you don't want to have a relationship with them? That's not okay. It's still a human being. So we have this idea. The emotional memory lasts way longer. The emotional memory stays intact. The emotional memory is how you made them feel. So you're going to get a couple of gimmies on this one. You can mess a few things up and maybe put the person in tears or it's a bad day, and you can leave the room and reset and come back in, but you need to change all of your emotions so that they're feeding off of your happiness. You need to come in not feeling hesitant. You can't come in like that. You have to come in very happy, very excited to be there. If you've ever seen any of us in our actual roles where we're on the floor, we're kind of bigger than day, really, really happy, because you're going to feed into my emotions. I'm going to kind of let's lay the scene for you. If I come in hesitation, if I come in like, I don't know how this is going to go, or if I come in like he's going to be in a bad mood, he's always in a bad mood, what are you setting him up for? You're leading him right down that path. We're not doing that. We're going to set the emotional tone. We're going to say, hey, how are you doing today? You look amazing. Now, I don't care if they're wearing the same shirt they've worn since they moved in here 3 years ago. I do. But the idea is that you're just telling them how great they are. Who doesn't like to be told how great they are? How great they look? How I'm so excited to see you. This is going to be a great day. Are you excited? And they're like, sure, for what? It doesn't matter. We're going to have a great day. The tone, facial expression, body language, they're reading everything you give them. You could have, and this is what I tell my team, and you can welcome to sit in any of my orientations, and this is what I tell them. How you walk into that room, they're going to multiply it and give it right back to you. So let's say you've had an argument with somebody, and you're walking in there, and you're like, oh, I'm so angry. They don't know that you're not angry with them. They feel that coming into the room, so immediately their defenses are going to go up to protect themselves. Their amygdala brain is incredibly heightened with this part of the disease. They feel everything to the nth degree. And then they're either going to do the fight, fright, please, or freeze. And what they're going to do is what they've done their whole life. How many of you in here are people pleasers? You're going to jump through hoops to make sure this person is not mad at you. How many of you run from confrontation and you just don't like it? You're going to look for the door to get the heck out of there when that person comes walking in. So there's not going to be a connection. Does that make sense? But if you can drop your attitude and you can go in there and kind of neutralize it and come in with a happy, you're excited to see them, this is going to be a great visit, I'm so excited you're here, guess what they're going to give you back? The same thing. The guard comes down because they want to please you. They want to be happy with you also. Conversations will reduce the loneliness and the anxiety. So you have to basically This is huge. Your body language is huge. I can't express that enough. Half the time, you don't even have to say any words. You just have to smile and be happy, be excited to see them, and greet them with a big face, big, big smile type of thing. They don't even have to remember the conversation later, and they won't. Most times they won't, but you know what they will remember? The way you made them feel. This is where I tell people, don't worry about it if you get it right or get it wrong. Just make sure they felt connected and they felt loved by you when you left. Because I see this all the time, and it's not in this building. I've never seen it here on this campus, but we had, and you were with me, we had a gentleman that was very, very physically, verbally, and emotionally abusive to his wife through their whole marriage. He didn't stop doing that once she had dementia. He would just go take it behind closed doors. She always communicated to us and let us know she did not want to see him or have any more visits with him, but she no longer had use of her words. But she let us know, I don't want to be around him. You know how she did it? Her body language. He would come walking in the room and she would physically, this one was in a wheelchair, she would physically try to hide from him. So she can't remember what you said, but she definitely knew how he made her feel. Make sense? So you can't get away with that stuff. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, don't say mean things and try to belittle somebody and make them feel small. They're going to remember, and they will show me that you hurt them. So I'm not going to remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And the opposite is very, very true. If you make that person feel very special, like they're the only one in the room, I'm so excited to see you, you're the greatest thing ever, they will literally bring it for you. The smiles, the laughter, they're just so excited to see you, and they'll give it back to you. Now, the power of how we start is everything. So again, this is a Teepa Snow thing, and you can actually look it up under her Teepa Snow Positive Approach to Care. It's called PAC. And you always want to start from the front. You always approach your person from the front. Why don't we approach them from the back or the side? If they're sitting there, I'll just come over the top of them, right? You will scare them to death. And you're probably going to get smacked in the face. Because again, remember what I told you, their amygdala is on high alert, right? Fight, fright, flees, yeah, I can't ever say that fast enough. So if you come up behind them and they can't see you coming or hear you coming, because if we're deaf, we can't always hear you. If we have peripheral vision loss, we can't see you until you're right in front of us. I need you in front of me, and I need you to approach slowly. And I need you to stop when you get to a certain point. I need you to stop about 8 feet out. There's a reason for this. If I came walking right up on you and got right in your personal space, how are you going to feel? So let's talk about what your personal space is, because some of you are in each other's personal space right now. I want you to take your arms, and I want you to make your little space bubble around you. You extend your arms. See, y'all are in each other's personal space. You're like, dude, you're in my space. Well, I think that might be her space. I'm not sure. But the idea is that this is your personal space, and it's the front of you, the side of you, and behind you is your personal space. Now, how many of you love going to the crowded shopping malls and stores right now? It's your favorite, standing in line, and you can feel the person's breath on your neck behind you. Anybody liking that? No, because they're in your personal space. How many of you can't wait to get home because you're done peopling? And I'm like, everybody out of my personal space. I mean, that's me. So you have this thing about your personal space, and it never goes away. You do not have the right to get in anyone's personal space without their permission. So even if this is your spouse, even if this is your dad or your brother or your sister, or maybe if you're the paid caregiver, you don't have the right to touch them without their personal permission, or without their permission. Now, this is so easy. This is the greatest thing ever. Do you know how to do that? You offer up your hand in a handshake. Even if it's your mom or your dad, you offer up your hand, and what are they going to do if they want you there? They're going to reach out. So now you just gave me permission to come into your personal space and touch your hand. And I'm going to go from a handshake position. Now, depending on where you are and what level of your dementia is, I might maintain that hand, and we'll do a hand-under-hand technique, so that you can squeeze, because sometimes you need to squeeze to make sure somebody's there and you feel safe. That is the Palmer reflex. That is built in when you are 3 minutes old. So that is a thing that you send that tells you you're safe. So you want to do the Palmer reflex with them. Let them squeeze your hand in a safe way. Not a handshake. It's going to look like you're arm wrestling with them. You want that kind of movement. Then what you're going to do is you're going to drop down to eye level. Because if you're standing right over the top of somebody holding their hand, you're sending a message that I am empowered over the top of you. That's not going to work, especially if you had anybody ever in the military. They don't like that posturing, but you're going to kind of drop down with them. You can sit next to them. If you don't have the extended warranty on your knees, I would suggest back up a little bit and hold their hands still while you're talking to them. But sitting next to them is great, but you want to get to eye level with them. But you don't want to necessarily square off face to face. You want to go to their dominant side. And their dominant side is whether they're right-handed or left-handed. So you're going to go to their dominant side. So if they're right-handed, you're going to go to the right-hand side. Stay in their line of sight, but not directly in front of them. Because it's posturing is everything. And I have to have so many conversations with our first responders. Have you ever looked at how a first responder walks into a room? Where are their hands? They either have them here, and what's sitting there on their hips? Weapons. Or they do this number, and what does this mean?
They're grabbing onto their vest.
They're grabbing their vest, but football players do it. All these jocks do it now. They stand like this. All right, how does it make you feel? Does this feel like welcome, or does this feel intimidating and threatening? Your hands have to come down when you approach. So I'm all the time telling the first responders, I need you to take your hands off of the stuff on your hip, and I need you to take it off your vest and just open up and just kind of have an open approach. But now you're face level with them. Now the next thing I want you to do is a calm, friendly voice. Dementia does not always come with hearing loss. And people 3 doors down don't need to hear you screaming in your loved one's face. You can enunciate your words without screaming at them. And if they have hearing aids, sometimes, I think this is funny, I have some residents, when they see certain family members coming, they take their hearing aids out. Oh, yeah, they're like, oh, here she is again, okay. And they're like, put them in their pocket, like, I can't, because they don't want to have a conversation with you. And that's okay, we're allowed to do that. But you're going to use a calm, friendly voice. Now, one thing I want you to do is the smile is everything, and then the pause. The power is in the pause. If you say, hey, how are you? Wait. It takes them a few seconds to process the, hey, how are you? What does she mean? Oh, me, she's talking to me. It takes a minute. Because remember I told you it's a slow process to understand the words that you just said, make them make sense, let me find an answer and bring it back to you. If you keep talking and not letting me answer, what's happening here? Do you feel validated and heard if somebody does that to you? Or you just stop talking, let them have their own conversation and just nod? That's not a connection, you're lecturing them. So you give them a minute to wait and answer. But one thing I always want you to do is I want you to compliment them on something. Compliment them. They took the time today to pick out that blue shirt. They took the time today to pick out those snowflake earrings. Now, granted, there might be food all over the blue shirt, but who cares? If your person is happy, you want to say, I love that color of blue on you. And then smile. You know what they're going to do? They're going to smile right back at you. Because you actually looked at them, you noticed them, and you complimented them. Make sense? If they're wearing earrings, give her a minute, because ladies, what do you do when somebody says, I love your snowflake earrings? Everybody goes, which ones are these? Oh, yeah. And they might say thank you, and you're like, where did you get those? Now, this is not a quiz on memory. I want her to see if she wants to talk about remembering getting these gifts, or remember if she went shopping for them and see what she does. She's like, I have no idea. I'm like, well, they're beautiful, and let it go. They look amazing on you, and let it go. Now, I'm doing all of this with you guys right now, and you guys are all smiling. And I'm not actually complimenting you, but you're feeling it, aren't you? You're like, okay, I like this. This conversation can continue. But if I walked into the room and I'm stressed out and I'm angry and I'm irritated because I have told the staff not to let you wear that shirt, and you're wearing that shirt again for the 3rd day in a row, you've got food all over it, mustard on it, your hair is a mess, I am so irritated with this, and I start jerking at you, cleaning your hair, licking my finger and getting the mustard off your face. How are we feeling now? You just took me from here to here. I'm still a human being, but you just devalued everything about my person. And here's what I'm going to tell you. They may have started out cleaned up today, but we had a good day. And so now they got mustard on their shirt. And it might be the same shirt that they're wearing for the third day in a row. And we do our best to get them out of it and to wash it. But if that is their favorite shirt, you're not going to get them out of it. So please go buy 5 more of the same shirt. It'll make life so much easier so we can get that thing washed. And maybe they decided they wanted to do their hair this way today. And this is their expression. And that can happen. I've had ladies where we've combed it, we fixed it, and she's like, there. And I'm like, all right. How many of you raised kids? How many times did you go to the grocery store with them wearing their Superman cape and their rubber boots and, I don't know, their hair all like, oh, here we go. So what were you going for? Peace? Or were you going for presentation? Choose peace. It's okay. Because this person is happy. And their way they're looking right now is not in any way, shape, or form a direct reflection of you. And I need you to hear that. Because a lot of times we assume that the person with dementia, their behaviors, their actions, are somehow as a reflection of me as a caregiver or me as a spouse. It is not. They're allowed to have their own personal, here I am world. And they're allowed to do that. We have one lady that no matter what we do, she has to put her shoes on the wrong feet. That's how she wants them. We switch them out, she puts them back. What do you mean to do? Which battle do you mean to have with her right now? Leave it. She's happy. I have one that it's one shoe on and one shoe off. Again, did you guys ever have kids? We do our best, but some of these things, they're allowed to pick and choose how they want to do it. So don't stress. Focus on success. And the idea of a successful visit is that they're smiling, you're smiling, and nobody died when you left. Because I have families going, that was the worst thing ever, I am not coming back. I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're going to focus on a successful visit. So, conversation starters. Instead of saying, oh, wow, you're wearing that shirt for the 3rd time, it's like, well, you look comfortable. That's fine. Or I'm really glad to see you. I've missed you. I don't care if you saw them yesterday. They have no concept of time. It's kind of like my daughter's raising a puppy right now, and when that puppy doesn't see my daughter for 10 minutes, it could be 10 minutes or 10 years. The dog is freaking out when she comes back into the room, and I'm like, that is the most beautiful way to explain this. You left, and I don't know where you went, and now you're back, and I'm glad you're back. They have no concept of time. So it's always, I'm glad to see you, or it feels nice just to be with you. Those are emotion-based starters that you want to do. Some sensory starters. Again, you can say you look comfortable today. Some of the others, like for sensory, I always tell people I love that color on you, and they're trying to figure out what color I'm wearing. Some other things can be, you smell nice today. Especially, and please compliment them on that, especially if we took the time and they picked out their favorite thing that they wanted to wear and they put on their, some of them wear a lot of it. Some of them, we can't get anything on them, but hey, tell them that they smell nice. This music sounds relaxing. That smells good, doesn't it? The sunlight feels warm. Whatever it might be, you can use a sensory starter. Starters don't necessarily rely on memory. It's a yes or no question. Very simple, and I can do those. I can do yes or no's. Memory, I can't necessarily do with you. So if you ask me, what did you have for lunch this morning? Did you have fun last night? They'll be like, that's a quiz question. But you can say that music was lovely, isn't it? And it's like, well, yeah, I like the music. Or it's something that they're holding. I really like the way that feels. Focus on what they're using, what they've got in their hands right now. If you walk in on them and they're doing an activity or a craft, compliment what they're doing. Please don't say you're out of the lines. They can't see the lines. And at this point, the fact that they're participating and they're sitting there in a social group and they're having a good time, that's the win. That's the success part. You don't want to sit there and judge them on everything that they're doing. Reminisce without pressure. We don't ask, do you remember? That's pressure. Try something like, tell me what you liked about this. So one of the things that Kelly actually is going to have for you guys, so if you struggle with conversations, and Maddie's going to have it as well too, are these things called reminiscing binders. And a reminiscing binder, this is just the easiest thing in the world. If your person, like I had a property in Kentucky, and covered bridges, tobacco barns, those are a big thing down there, and tractors, okay? everything. So we had a book of nothing but covered bridges. So when I say this, it wasn't like a book. It's like we made it. It was a 3-ring binder. Some of these pictures were out of Good Housekeeping. Some of them were out of different remembrance catalogs and magazines. We would print them out. We'd put them in a page protector, and we'd put them in a 3-ring binder. And they would flip through it, and all of a sudden, like, that's where I grew up. And they'd start talking about this covered bridge as if it was on the way to their property. Or I love my gentleman saying that all the tractors they owned, those were all their tractors. I'm like, okay. The barns, they would tell me where they were located, whose barn that was. That was the old mill farm. That was their barn. I don't know if it is or not. Don't care. They're reminiscing. I'm like, well, tell me about that. What did it smell like when you were out there? Oh, you could smell. And they would start to tell me these things. I would be looking at another picture. I had one gentleman who was a race car driver back in the 80s. And we actually found a picture of him in a magazine of where he won the car that he was driving in, and he'd actually rebuilt the engine, which I don't know anything about this. But he had pictures of all of his stuff. And he goes, well, look at them. I'm like, is that you? He's like, I think so. And I'm like, well, you're really good looking there. So we started talking to him. It's like, tell me about this. Why are you in this? What happened here? And he's like going on, and I'm like, you must have felt amazing. And he goes, oh, yeah. So he's going on, and eventually it wasn't in the past. It's today. He won that race today. And he's telling me everything about it, who was there, and his whole face, he came alive. So it's like you want to have these conversations with them, and you want to have a sensory with it. One of the things I'd always add whenever he was talking to me about his race days is he loved black coffee, and I mean like oil black coffee. And he always wanted that with 2 cookies on his plate. Not 3, not 1, but 2. So I'd always have the 2 cookies, and they had to be Oreos because he'd dunk them in the black coffee. So he had his coffee, so that was a sensory thing because he was smelling it. He had his Oreos so he could taste where we were going. And then I started flipping through this picture book. And then one of the things that was in his memory book was that he had ribbons and he had things he'd won. So now he's holding this while he's looking at these pictures. Do you know how easy it was to get a conversation going with him? How easy it was to de-escalate any situation with him? He was the easiest one in the room to work with. But everybody did not want him because he was Lewy bodies. He had hallucinations and he would throw fists when he was frustrated. We never once saw that behavior. I just had to meet him where he was, remind him of who he was, and let him tell me about who he was. That was it. So Kelly's going to start creating some like reminiscing binders. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do for your person is to get some of these things out. And if you can have the smell and the taste going, which is pretty easy to recreate because everybody likes sweets. And if they have a favorite soothing drink, whether it's hot chocolate, hot tea, coffee, whatever it might be. And like we had one, for example, she loved to tell us about her wedding day. So it was her wedding pictures. But we actually found some lace. Now, it wasn't the lace off of her dress and some pearls, but she didn't care. She was holding the lace. And she's like, oh, this came off of my train. And she was telling us all about it. She was telling us about the wedding day, and we actually found music that she said was what she walked down the aisle to. So we'd have that going while she's telling us all about that. And I was like, tell me about this, tell me about it. And I could still tell you her bridesmaids' names because she recited them like that. And even the one that was in because her mom forced her to be in the wedding, but she didn't really want her in that wedding anyways. But this is where we're going. So we're just laughing. So she's thinking, so by the time we were done with her visit, where do you think she was feeling? What do you think she was feeling? Totally on cloud 9, totally connected with me. And then at some point, her words started to fail. So she had told me this story long enough that I would start to fill in the words for her. And she was, yes, that's it. So she's like, you know this story. And I'm like, once or twice. But it's like, you start to fill it in for her. I wouldn't speak for her, but I would say, tell me about this person. And she'd be like, and I said, is it Belinda? She's like, yes, her. And then she'd go on about like that, because I knew that was the one that got on her nerves and didn't want to be in the wedding. But so we would go into this, we'd visit. So reminiscing binders are such an easy thing to create. And even if you don't have their things, we can go back in time and find pictures. And it's so funny because they own it. Like we had like picture books of babies, newborn babies. And every woman in there, those were her grandbabies. And she had names for every one of them. And I'm like, man, you must be like old Mother Hubbard here. But she had like 20 baby names, and they were having fun. And then my favorite part is to watch 2 residents sit together, reminiscing through the binders, going, oh, yeah, that's your friend so-and-so. Or that, okay, that's not it at all, but they're reminiscing together and making a connection. So when it comes to dementia, it's not about getting the words right or getting the accuracy, it's the connection. I just want to feel like a human being again, and the biggest thing for a human being is to have connection with another human being. Dementia takes so much of that away from you. It's a very isolating thing. So it's not about the facts, it's about the connection. Late stage. This is where words are starting to fail, and they can't always tell you what they're saying, but they can smile, they can maybe grip your hand, they can shake your hand, they can nod with you a little bit. Simply say things like, I'm here with you, you're safe, I care about you. There is something called the mother's touch, and I know Teepa Snow talks about this, the Alzheimer's Association does, and I've told you about this a couple of times. The mother's touch is, think of like when you've got a newborn baby in your hands. How much are you touching that baby? Okay, a lot. Where does your forehead go sometimes? Forehead to forehead with that baby, right? And I'm already doing the rock. And you might start rocking back and forth with them. They might be in bed, they might be in a wheelchair, and you just hold their hand and you go forehead to forehead. You bring your chin down, ladies, because that will lower your tone so they can hear you. And you'll say things like, I'm here with you, and you're safe. And then I remember with my dad, I would sing him the song that he sung to me when I was a little girl. And he would start to whisper it back to me as much as he could. That's all you need. You can add things like music or humming. You can do that gentle touch. Or sometimes you just sit in silence and stare at the birds. And just smile at them from time to time. It doesn't always have to be connection and words. So for those of you who think that silence is the scary place, it's okay. You can hang out in the silence. If you don't like silence so much, play their favorite music. Play a song from their past, maybe one from their childhood. And here's the easiest way to do that. What was the song that they sang to you? Go there. And you can get, and your phone makes visits so easy now. You can pull up music on your phone and just play it softly in the background. You don't want to have a whole lot of music going if you're trying to talk to them. But if you're going to do a shared silence, just hold their hand, just be with them, the music is great for that. And it's kind of amazing what you might see them do. You might see their eyes light up a little bit and start to sing the words to all of that, all those songs. And you're like, oh, okay. And then we're going to go that direction with it. They might want to get up and dance with you. Or just take your hands and clap back and forth and just be so happy that you're there. So there's different ways that you can have these connections. If it goes off track and they start to repeat, respond as if it's the very first time. Because some dementias will repeat, and it's kind of like a form of anxiety. This is very important that I ask this question or that I get this information. I cannot remember if I've asked it, so I need it again. So there's a reason that you repeat yourself now, is there not? Why do you repeat your question now? Do you feel like you were heard? Feel like you were understood? Something important you feel like you need to share? So you're going to answer it as though it was the very first time. You're not going to say, Mom, I answered that 3 times already. Don't you remember? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Because do you even hear the tone that comes across with that? It's very undignified, and it makes the person feel very little and very small, and we don't want to do that. If they become upset, validate the feeling. So let's say they're angry and they're upset because no news on the TV, and I want my news on the TV. This happens. We get this. I prefer don't want the TV on, but there's no news on the TV. Or like, this one was a good one for my dad. Who drank the last of the coffee? He's the only one that drank the coffee. Coffee pot's empty. It's like, we need to call out, World News and Report. The coffee's empty. And my dad would be like, what the hell? Who had the last of the coffee? Doesn't anybody know? And I'm like, oh my good. So I would come at him with the same amount of energy. I'm going to validate his feelings. So you validate by matching their energy. So the first thing you do not do is say, it's all right, calm down. All right, let's talk it to you guys. You're upset. You're upset. Car ran out of gas. Jill, the car ran out of gas. And Paul didn't tell you that it was low on gas. And now you're upset. So if you call me and say, Lori, the car is out of gas, I don't know. Calm down. How's that going to go over? You're liable to hang up on me. If somebody comes running in and they're like, this and this and this and this and this is happening, like, okay, you need to calm down. How does the words calm down work on you? Does it work? I've never seen it work on anyone. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire when you say something. You need to calm down. Okay, that's not going to happen. So what I would tell you to do is this. If they come at you, the news isn't on the TV. Why isn't the news on the TV? And go, the news isn't on. Oh my gosh, why is it not on? And I'm like, it should be. Did we check? I'm like, oh. You know what happens the minute you match their energy? They stop and they calm down. Because they're like, oh. Because that tells the person, I get you. I hear you. So like with Dad with the coffee, and I think my kids thought I must have been crazy, but Dad would come like, there's no coffee? Who drank that? Oh my gosh. All right, I'm going to go figure this out. Dad, I am so sorry there's no coffee. We're going to figure it out together. You want to come help me? He's like, all right, I'll make it again. And we'd walk out to the kitchen and make another pot of coffee, and by the time it was done, he was whistling. You know, crisis averted, no big deal. But if I sat there and said, Dad, calm down, I'll go make more coffee, oh my gosh, where would that have gotten me? He would not have been okay with that response. And no, you wouldn't be that okay with that response. So some things you can say is, that's so frustrating, there's no news on, but you can't do this from down at this level. You have to come up to wherever their level is. And I know that people think I'm nuts when I do this, because like the one with the food, oh my gosh. I was in another building, and the lady was telling me that the pizza tastes like crap because she couldn't taste it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. I said, it tastes like crap, then why are you eating it if it tastes like crap? She says, I have no idea. And I'm like, do you want it? No. I'm like, can I take it? Yes. So everybody around me is like, Lori just said the pizza tastes like crap. I'm like, no, I did not. No, I did not, because the chef comes walking out. I'm like, that's not what I said. What did I say? I validated her. And the reason that she said the pizza tastes like crap was because she could no longer taste savory. She lost the taste for it. And she was so mad that everybody around the table was able to eat it and enjoy it and like the taste of it. She could smell it, but she couldn't taste it. And she said hers tasted like cardboard. So I took away the pizza, and I validated her energy, and then I brought out a bowl of ice cream. She could taste that. We had reminiscing memories. I put toppings on it. She put her toppings on it. And I said, do you remember the first time you had ice cream? What does this make you think of? And she's like, Grandma. And I'm like, exactly. So we're sitting here talking about that. And then I made a note. The next time we serve her pizza, we're going to have to drizzle some honey on it. Don't gross out about it. Her brain's going to tell her it tastes like pizza. Now she can taste the sweet. She's going to enjoy it. And it worked. But let's figure it out together. That's another one I would tell my dad. We'll figure it out together. Come on, let's go make the coffee. Instead of sitting here getting mad because somebody finished the coffee right out of your cup, let's go make some more. The other one is, you're not alone. That is a big one. I'm here with you. Because a lot of times you want to make sure that you're validating their fear, you're understanding that you're concerned, you're not alone, I've got you. And hold that hand as much as you can. So give me an idea of something that's a very hard conversation for you to have. She wants to go home. All right. Now, I've talked about this one once or twice. How would you guys validate her first? We're not going to tell her that she is home because she knows she's not. What are we going to validate? So here's what I would say. I'm going to say back what she says. When she says, I want to go home, like, you want to go home? Yeah, I'm like, that does sound nice. And then I'm going to lower my tone. I'm going to hold her hand. I'm like, tell me about home. Where is home? And she says, well, it's not here. And I'm like, well, that's clearly it's not here. But where is home? Where'd you grow up? And I'm going to have her take me there. Now, don't assume that home is 123 Maple Street. You're making an assumption based on the word that she said. The word she found was home. Home means a lot of things. You tell me what home means to you right now. What is home? Is it your favorite chair? Your favorite blanket? Is it your spouse? Home for me is when my adult kids come home. It's not that childhood home I grew up in, but catch me in 20 years and it might be my childhood home. Home is also a hug. Home is also my mom, who's been dead for 15 years. What is home? What do you mean when you say, I want to go home? I miss home. Find out what she means by it. So with your mom, I would sit down there and work with her and say, you want to go home? You miss your home. She might clearly mean a place, a dwelling, a structure. Which one does she mean, though? The one she raised you kids in? Or the one she grew up in? She's going way back. So then who is it that she's missing? Is she missing her mom? Is she missing her bedroom, her friends, her grandmother? Who or what is it that she's missing? Because home is a word that does not necessarily mean what you and I think it means. Home generally means I miss feeling secure. What is security? Most of us go home when we've had a long day and we're tired. But security could also be a hug. It could be reassurance. It could be a warm blanket. It could be your favorite hot drink. Don't always make the assumption, but ask her to tell me about it. What's your favorite room in the house? What is your favorite thing to do at home? Who's waiting there for you? Start letting her put in the pieces to tell you where she is in her head with home. Does that make sense? But don't ever tell somebody you are home. No, nobody grew up in this place. This is not home. This is where you are right now and you are safe here, but this is not that. Make sense? So find out what she means by that. Give me another one. That was a really good one. Give me another one. I want my car. I want my car. I want my car. All right. You want your car. Yes, I want my car. Where would we go? Where do you want to go? And let's go there. Let's talk about it. You want to go where? I want to go to the golf course. This is my dad. I want my car because I want to meet my friends at the golf course. At the golf course? Okay, great. Well, do we have a tea time? Because you can't just show up at the golf course, so we need a tea time. Which friends are going to meet you there? And I'd have him start listing out the friends, and I would write them down. I'm like, do you want me to call your friends to have them set up a tea time for you? Now, I'm doing all of this. Why am I doing this? I'm validating him, and he's doing what? He's planning out this trip that he wants to take. And I said, well, okay, Dad, why don't you come out here and help me with this? Because I need to pull up the golf course. Maybe we can do an online reservation. I think you can do an online tea time. So from walking where he said, I want to go home or I want my car, I'm moving him in a different location. I'm going to bring him into my office for something or grab my laptop and put it on the kitchen sink. What's going to happen when he goes from there to here? He's going to change his mind. He might forget. He's going to see something else and forget what we were getting ready to do with the laptop. But I validated the fact that he wanted to get his car. I want my car. What is it that you want to do with your car? And if he says, I just need it. Okay, great. No problem. Where did you have it last? Well, and we're going to start running through it. I'm like, I'll make a few phone calls for you. We can look for it. Somebody stole it from me. Who do you think stole it from you? And I don't do it accusatory. I'm like, who do you think it was? We'll find it real fast. I'm here to help you. I'm on your side. I'm validating the fact that you're scared, you're lonely, you're upset, you need something, you don't know quite what it is you need. I'm going to help you get it. And in the process of having you talk it out with me and validate you with it, what were we talking about again? Is usually what happens. But in the process, they feel heard, they feel validated. And then the whole thing, and I would never do this, oh my goodness. I would never ever say to somebody, don't you remember me? Now, I'm going to give you a real life example, okay? You and your husband have been out to dinner and he introduced you some couples, and this woman now comes up to you at the grocery store a couple weeks later. She remembers your name. You don't remember her name. What do? How's it make you feel? How do you like it when somebody starts saying, don't you remember me? And you're like, oh, shoot. Like you've completely I shouldn't I? And you feel bad. You feel horrible because this person's using your name and you don't remember their name. Do not do that to your person. Don't say, who am I? Don't you remember me? Just say, this is the easiest thing to do. When I'd walk in and say, hey, Dad, it's Lori. He's like, I know who you are. He never did. And that's okay. And at one point, he's like, why are you calling me Dad? I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. And that's when I realized I was older than he was in his head. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to start calling you by your first name now. But the idea is that you don't want to make him feel bad. You want to normalize mistakes. So whenever the coffee was empty, like, or my bad, I'll take care of that for you. or if dad would drop something or mess something up, I'd mess something up also. Have you ever done that? All right, give you an example. Brushing his teeth. Brushing his teeth. Brushing your teeth is very complicated, and there's a lot of tasks involved. There's 22 steps, actually, in brushing your teeth. And there's this whole process that you got to get it all right, and somebody's just staring at you to make sure you're doing it right because your caregiver's like staring at you. Now, how many of you could sit here and type your name on my keyboard right now if I'm staring at you? You probably wouldn't know what letter comes next. So there's a lot of pressure. But when brushing his teeth one day, I noticed that he was like getting so frustrated because he couldn't remember what steps to do things in. So I said, you know what? It's hard for me too. Sometimes I have to go through this process. And I had these little pictures that I had already gotten for him. And I said, I use these pictures that help me. He goes, well, that's kind of handy. Let me see that. And there were pictures that I downloaded off of a website that helped putting brushing your teeth in order. And I'm like, you want to see how I do it? So then I would kind of start to brush my teeth with him, brushing his teeth. And I would make a mistake. He goes, oh, you didn't get that part right. I'm like, sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I don't. I use these cards. I normalized it. I did not want my dad to feel little or small. I did not want him to feel like, Dad, can't you do the most basic stuff? I didn't do that for him. If he had a hard time getting the buttons on his shirt, I'd be like, that's hard for me too sometimes. That's why, let's get you some snaps. So let's get the magnetic ones. It makes it so much easier. Normalize making mistakes. Normal. You don't get everything right all the time. It's okay if he makes a mistake or she makes a mistake. It's a learning process. And when you make a mistake, you can go right back and correct it. All you have to do is validate them and just say, I'm really glad I'm here with you. That's all you have to do if you make a mistake. All right, now, what not to say. You already told me that. You repeated yourself 3 times. Why would we do that?
Because we're angry, frustrated, and upset.
You're allowed to be angry and frustrated and upset, but you're not upset with him. Keep in mind what you're angry at.
Dementia.
So why are you yelling at the human being that has it? You're angry at the dementia. Raising your voice at the human being that has this disease isn't going to make your anger go away, and it's not going to make them remember. All it's going to do is make that, just take that whole connection and start to pull it apart and dissolve it. He already feels isolated. He already feels like he can't keep up. He already feels like there's something off. I don't want him to feel like everything about that he's doing is wrong. So you don't want to say, you already told me that. I've already told you this. Why can't you remember? That's not right. We don't ever want to use those words, or don't you remember, I just told you. That's when we hear an awful lot on the memory care floor. That's not fair, because if they could remember, they wouldn't be there. Keep that in mind. Now, what about this instead? They're telling you something and they're hyped up because they want to make sure you know it. Let's validate the emotion instead. Sounds like you're really worried that I hold on to that. It's okay. I've got it. You're safe. Validate the emotion that's coming out with them repeating themselves 3 or 4 times. Validate their concern that you might not remember. Validate that, because if you listen, there's a tone coming out of them. What is that tone? Is that tone fear? Is it concern, confusion? Are they worried about you? Because that's kind of interesting, because even though the roles reversed and I had to become my dad's mother, so to speak, he never stopped being concerned about me. But his concern would take on a different way. Sometimes he'd get angry with me because I was doing too much, even though he was concerned about me. So I had to match that tone and make sure he was all right. I would always redirect him with kindness as much as I could. There were days I had to I'll be right back, and go upstairs and scream into a pillow. It's not easy being a caregiver. It's the hardest thing you're going to do. But phrases often come from exhaustion, so be very, very kind to yourself. Give yourself some grace, because you are going to get exhausted. You are going to have mental breaks where you're like, I can't do this anymore. And that's okay. That's when you have to tap out and be very, very compassionate with yourself. Remember that what you're doing your best at. Not one of you in here is a certified trained dementia specialist for the state. So this is your first rodeo. Maybe it's your second rodeo, but it's your first time with that person. No 2 people go through dementia the same way. No 2 dementias are the same. And you can't possibly study and prep for this. This is a day-by-day, hour-by-hour situation. You're going to get taxed and tested and strained. So the idea here is that I want you to have a connection over any form of conversation. I want you to connect with them. That's the most important thing. There are going to be days that are much, much harder than others. You're going into a season right now where it's going to be really tough. Because seasonal depression with dementia is a real thing, and it's hard. It's very, very challenging. So if today's visit didn't go well, tomorrow is a new opportunity. But do not go home and beat yourself up over it. Do not go home and say, I said the most horrible things. I know I hurt her. Okay, maybe you did say something horrible. Maybe you did snap. But here's the beauty of this disease. They're not going to remember what you said, but they are going to remember how you made them feel. How did you leave it? Did you leave it with a hug? Did you leave it with I love you? Did you leave it with I'm here for you? How did you leave it? It's okay if you get everything wrong in the middle. Get the beginning and the ending right, and you'll be okay. Walk in happy and smiling and walk out the same way, even if you have to go home or sit in the car and cry for 2 hours. Been there and done that. It's okay. You're going to get better at this. Some days will be better, but your person, keep in mind, just about the time you figure it out and get it right, guess what happens? The dementia shifts and changes. It's one of those things where you're just going to have to go back and forth. And maybe mornings are the best time of the day, and then maybe it's evenings, and maybe this person's not sleeping at all, and maybe they suddenly sleep all the time. And nothing you're experiencing right now is concrete and stationary and going to stay right there. It's going to change, and it's going to move. And you just kind of have to get ready for the next thing. This is one of those things where I tell people, you got to take care of yourself. You got to have some grace for yourself. Feelings matter more than facts do. Feelings matter. Facts do not matter. Not when it comes to this disease. They don't care that today is whatever December blah, blah, blah of 2020. They don't care. They don't care that there's going to be things that they focus in on. And the reason they're focusing in on that is there's a feeling that they're trying to wrap their head around and make it make sense. They're trying to create a basic need, and they're trying to figure out what is going on. More often than not, they spend their days trying to figure out, where am I and why am I here? And what is going on? Because a lot of times with dementia, they can feel something is slipping away, but they try to make it into an abstract or a concrete outside of their head. They don't understand that their memories are slipping away. They don't understand that the reason they start accusing you of things is because they can't keep up with how fast you're moving on things. So I got accused of stuff all the time. I would clean my dad's room, and he would say I took things, I stole things, because I rearranged things and I would put them back. And because I was taking things and rearranging them, I was stealing from him. He actually accused me of stealing my mom because he couldn't remember she'd passed away a few weeks earlier. And it's like, you're going to get them. You're going to get tested with some stuff, and it's hard. And you're going to get it wrong more than you get it right, and I'm here to tell you it's okay. It's all right, as long as they have a connection with you. How you say it matters most. Do you remember your mom telling you to get that tone, drop your tone? Anybody get in trouble for her tone? I always got in trouble. Or the look on your eyes, get that look off your face. Nobody else in here got in trouble for, I'm the only one that got in trouble with my mom. I know you would have, Cindy, because your mom would have been like, no. Tone is everything. Tone is everything. If you come in and you have a tone in your voice, and it's not a nice tone, what's going to happen? They're going to give it back to you because they're not taking that. It's like, nope, not doing that. So tone matters more than anything. And then simple is the most powerful. Simple. We're not going to do a whole lot today in today's visit. It might just be sitting and holding hands and listening to music. That's the human connection. Might be looking at pictures, and maybe they just nod and smile because they can't really recall any of those people, but that's okay. You say, I don't know who these people are either. Let's do something else. And that's okay. It might be a very, very simple but very powerful connection. And then you are not failing. You are adapting, and you are growing, and you are evolving. The more you learn, the better you do. And this is one of those things that you talk about trial by fire. And I had all this education, then I got thrown into this with my dad, and I'm like, man, I know nothing. It's not like what you thought. because everybody is different and you're on this journey with this person. That person is still very much a person and they're still very much needing that human connection from you. But remember what it is you're angry at. You're angry at the dementia for taking that person from you. You're not angry at them. You're angry at the situation. You're angry that this was not what you signed up for. You're angry that this was not what we planned for. That's what you're angry at. Don't misdirect that towards the person, because how you make them feel is what they're going to retain and hold on to. Make sense? Okay. And then here's some resources for you. They duplicated the Alzheimer's Association. I'm not sure why it did that when I did this, but Teepa Snow is the one that you want. And it's Teepa Snow. You can find her online. She's got free videos and caregiver tips and tricks. She's absolutely amazing. She's been doing this for, 30 years now? For a very long time. I think her daughter is starting in her process behind her. And the Alzheimer's Association has some really good information. Now, I go to the alz.org, but I've actually been finding some really good information on the Alzheimer's Association out of England. They're about 20 years ahead of us with their understanding of this disease. And they have some really interesting tips and stuff. And then there's always me. This is my personal Gmail account. You can also follow me on my Facebook page. I am going to start posting some videos up there for you guys as well as when I'm holding a next seminar, speaking engagement, brain boot camp, all that great stuff.